All right, let's see what we have here, guys. Let's see what we got. Share screen here. Got Hey, everybody, can you hear me?
Yes.
Excellent, excellent. We'll wait a minute here. Let a few people join. Let's see who we have.
Hey, I'm trying to switch over to a phone call instead of doing it through the web-based internet. So if I drop off from audio, that's why.
Okay, no worries. You got Devin on, Michael, Chris. My boy, Chris Casey. How you doing, Chris? Eric, who else we have signed up? Devin, long time no see, man. Michael. So we'll kick it off. Dwayne, you ready? And he's off. Dwayne, with us?
All right. Hey, I'm back. Dwayne.
Okay. Excellent.
Sorry about that.
No worries, no worries. Make sure we're recording. Well, excellent. Well, I want to definitely respect everybody's time, and I appreciate everybody jumping on. We're really excited. I know I've known a lot of you from a past life, whether it be EMC, whether it be Infor. So we're going to jump right into it. I appreciate it. And this is actually my second day at Rubrik. I'm actually in New Orleans with one of our sponsors for today for their, and we're just gonna agenda wise, we're gonna keep it informal. We're just gonna go over our sponsors. I'm gonna kick it to Dwayne. He's gonna show you a little bit about the use cases for Rubrik for SQL. It's industry leading technology. If you have not heard of Rubrik, guess what? You're going to hear about it today because that's what it's all about. And those of you that do not know me, I have been in technology in Houston probably for about 8 years. So I grew up in West Texas. I am an Army brat and went to school at UTSA, graduated in 2008, went to work for a company called Paychex, selling HCM software. A lot of you know me from my next role at EMC. I was the SMB territory manager for Houston for about 3.5 years, and we really built that up in a similar spot to where we are right now at Rubrik, where we're building it out, didn't really have a lot of customers, and in just a few years, we were able to partner with a lot of our customers, give them what they needed, and get over 200 new logos in 3.5 years. So we're going to do the same thing at Rubrik. In the last few years, I've been traveling extensively at a company called Infor. It was SAP, Oracle, and then us. We're the third largest ERP company. And I covered 8 cities, imagine that, in the Western US. And that's one of the reasons why I came over to Rubrik, so I can use some of my existing relationships in the Houston market. But I was covering Houston, Dallas, Phoenix, Denver, LA, San Francisco, Chicago, and Minneapolis. So very large territory. I am very excited to be back in Houston. So now I am the regional sales manager, like I said, on day 2 here at Rubrik. So with that, let's jump right in it. Our sponsor for today is Nutanix. I am at the Next conference in New Orleans right now, and they are doing a lot of joint work with us. We're going to do webinars every single week, and this SQL use case, Nutanix has sponsored this show, and one of you lucky winners will actually we're going to draw a name on the boat for our deep sea fishing trip on the 31st. And one of you will get a Amazon Echo. So everybody on the call, your name will be on the hat. We're going to have a lot of fun. A lot of you are coming so you can get tickets to that deep sea fishing trip. So that's just a little bit about us, who we are, what we do. So I'm going to turn it over to Dwayne to take us home and to show us what we came for SQL. So Dwayne.
Thanks, Alan. And I'm not sharing video because I'm not as pretty as you are. So we'll just look at the Rubrik logo on mine. But anyway, thanks for the intro. A little bit about me. I've been at Rubrik since August. I'm the original SC for Houston. We've grown now to 3 SCs in Houston. I spent the past 16 years as an IT director / networking guy, a couple other things in between, storage person as well. And then I found my new home here at Rubrik, and I'm loving it. So I hate PowerPoint, but I'm going to show you guys a couple slides, kind of summarizing who we are. And after that, if time permits, I will show you a brief demo that just gives you a kind of a 30,000-foot view of the process from a SQL perspective. If anyone has any questions, please chat it, raise your hands, talk louder to me, whatever it takes to get my attention, and I'll do my best to answer the question. So I'm going to share my screen. Let's see. Alan, you may have to turn off screen sharing. Let me see. Nope, they gave it to me. All right. So can everyone see my screen? Alan, you got it? Can you see it?
Good. Yeah.
Perfect. All right. So I'm going to kind of do 2 parts here. One is a 30,000-foot view of what Rubrik is for those of you that do not know who we are, and then follow that with more specific towards SQL. So we're data protection, data management. We're starting Rubrik 2.0 here. Actually, today is the first official day that we can actually sell and license what we're considering the next generation of Rubrik, which is data management. So part 1 was data protection, and now we're getting into the management piece of it and the data visibility. And so what are we trying to solve, and what are we doing? So from the 90s until now, realistically, nothing from a data protection perspective has changed. Most infrastructures, including even modern day software that's been purchased, looks like this. You have backup software sitting on servers, proxies, maybe doing some replication between data centers, and then you have that centralized single point of failure known as a catalog database. Tape. Most people, or a lot of people, are still having to use tapes, send those tapes to an offsite Iron Mountain type thing. Fast forward to the early 2000s, and the greatest change that's ever happened was disk-based backup and dedupe. Think data domain, even Quanta and things like that, where they were introducing compression, dedupe, a little bit of data visibility and data intelligence. But since the 90s, with the exception of disk and dedupe, everything stayed the same. You're still sending it to some type of external storage. You may be replicating that storage as well, but it's relatively the same for the past 30 years, we'll call it. So what are we doing? We're taking everything that you see here, and we're removing it, and we're taking that down to a 2U hyper-converged scale out, not up. There's a key difference there. Scale out infrastructure, and the partnership with Nutanix is huge because we're doing the same thing that they did with compute and storage. we're doing with data protection. So again, we're taking the things that you see here, we're consolidating it down into a scale out, web scale, no less, infrastructure that literally has no limits. We do not have a posted or a written limitation on how large your cluster can go. And so that's huge. There's no master controller, there's no head unit. It's a headless cluster that continues to grow forever. And so when you grow, you have two choices of growth. You can grow privately in your own data center, or you can grow to the public cloud. We play well with pretty much any public cloud provider, as well as any private cloud infrastructure that you've built out yourself. All sitting behind a single pane of glass with a software orchestration sitting on top of it. So, from a SQL perspective, transitioning over to more what this call is about, or this webinar is about, and backup can be one of the hardest jobs, not just for SQL DBAs, protecting the SQL world, but the challenges come when you have two people trying to protect the data. You have the SQL guys that are concerned about their databases and want control, and then you have the infrastructure and the IT guys that think they need to control it as well. And I spent a lot of time, on you guys' side of the fence, so I understand how that goes. And so what makes the difference? So if you can have orchestration, you can have you have a place where you can build and maintain scripts, manage SLAs and storage. I know you guys may not know what SLAs are, but that is our version of scheduling. We do not do traditional scheduling. We create SLAs that says, how often do you want to protect the SQL database? How often do you want to play or protect the transaction log files? And where do you want them to go and how long? And that's how we do our scheduling. It's very simple. And that can be controlled by the DBAs themselves, because we're 100% role-based access. So we can give individual users or individual DBAs rights to just a single database and a single SQL server. And so that's how we manage your scheduling, is through what we call SLAs. And as you guys know, as things grow, whether it be you grow out your SQL environment with creating new instances or adding new SQL servers or virtual SQL servers, it makes your infrastructure more complex. You end up with cross versions, and then you have multiple schemas and things like that, and it becomes a management nightmare. So we are somewhat agnostic to the version of SQL. We cannot go back to 1999, but we can protect most modern day versions of SQL all from a single interface. Size, disk space, and things like that. So in a traditional infrastructure that I showed you earlier, you have to have storage somewhere to send your backups, whether you're doing SQL full backups, via scripts or via traditional tools. You have to send it somewhere. So now you have to get the storage guys involved. With us, you do not manage storage. We are storage. We are software. We are an entire data protection platform inside this one box, or multiple boxes if your cluster is big enough. So you don't have to worry about disk space or anything like that. And on top of that, within this single interface and this single appliance and single cluster, we're doing dedupe compression. We're not creating multiple instances of your database that's occupying lots of space. So it really cuts down on rack space and data center footprint. High visibility. So you want to know that you're being protected and that your SLAs are being met for your own comfort, as well as someone else within your organization, the executives. So we give you the ability to pull endless amounts of reports, all the way from the database level to an entire cluster per se. So if you want to see the overall health of protection and data protection, you can easily do that through our built-in report manager and report engine. And then we also have, compliance and legal request holds and things like that. And so you can take data and move it to the side and never let it be touched for X amount of days, or send it off to a private or public cloud archive for long-term retention. And again, there's no limits on that retention. That's controlled by you guys, whatever meets your business needs. So moving on and talking about the hybrid on-site and cloud-based solution. it seems that the modern trending is going to cloud, at least some form of it, whether it be simple archive or whether it be full blown, say Microsoft Azure, running everything from your SQL infrastructure in Azure. And so we fully fit into that mesh. And we not only do we fit in it, but we simplify it by giving you portability. So you can take a database from our perspective, from our interface, and you can restore to a local SQL server. You can restore to a cloud instance of SQL, whether it be Azure that is natively running Microsoft SQL Server in the cloud 100%. You can take and do a restore from a local copy to the cloud and have it up and running. I won't say instant, but very close to instant. Gets into latency and things like that. But the comfort is knowing that you can, from our interface, spin up a SQL database anywhere you need to. So taking your hard job, we just talked about the complexity of backup and managing SQL, and we're trying to simplify it. Automation. So we are 100% from the ground up. It's not a bolt-on. And I'm getting a spinning ball. Is everyone still there? No, internet just died.
Yeah, we can see.
Yep. Can you see me again? I lost it for a second. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
But you can't see me.
Can't see you, no.
Yeah. I apologize. Gotta love Comcast. Let me try again. While I'm trying to fix the technical difficulties here, I was saying we are built from the ground up. It is not a bolt-on. It is not an afterthought from our automation and API integration. We are built from the ground up as an API-driven infrastructure. Even our own GUI this sounds kind of funny, but our GUI is not really a GUI. It's a bunch of API calls in the background that are being painted as a picture. So we are very, very script friendly. We are very automation tools, ServiceNow, Puppet, Chef, Ansible, any of the automation tools that you see out there today, we seamlessly integrate with. And so you can take your SQL scripts that you currently have that are moving data around and things like that, and get rid of them all, and do it all through our interface. But if you do have scripts that you want to continue to use, you can integrate those into us, whether it be PowerShell or just traditional API calls. So it's pretty friendly when it comes to automation and workflow-based tasks. Yeah, I cannot get my internet to go. And so from a recovery standpoint, everybody can protect the database, whether it be dump and scrape or actual application intelligence, which is what we do. What counts is the recovery. And so from a recovery standpoint, we protect two pieces of the SQL environment. We protect the database itself, and we protect the log files as well. And so they are looked at as two different pieces, and they can have two different protection schedules or protection SLAs. So you can have your database back up once a day and do your log files every 15 minutes. And so the beauty or the value in that is the fact that you get transaction level recovery through technology that we call live mount. So what live mount is giving you is the ability to spin up a SQL database on us. So you're not having to provision storage or use production storage to do, let's say, test dev or to test a patch or to test a script. You can literally within a minute, within 60 seconds, you can have a SQL data, the copy of your SQL database up and running on us, being presented to your SQL Server Enterprise Manager. And it's a fully functioning copy of that point in time from when that snapshot took place. And so from that, you can go in and get into your recovery or pulling data out and putting it back into the production side of the database if you need to. And so we do recovery quite a bit different than a traditional backup solution. Let's see. Still trying to get my Wi-Fi up. Sorry.
And that's fine. For those of you on up to this point, does anybody have any questions?
Is everybody muted by default?
I think so. Hold on. Let me.
Yeah. If you guys need to talk, you can click the little unmute button down in the bottom left of the Zoom panel.
Okay. I think everybody's good at this point.
All right, cool. Since I have no Wi-Fi, I can't see if there's any chat messages coming across either, Alan. So if you can watch that. So, man, this is very unfortunate that I'm having difficulties right now.
Fine, man. It happens. So for
yeah.
that's fine. Let's talk through some other things. As far as SQL, why is it important to use Rubrik for SQL versus some of our competitors?
So there's a couple answers to that question, and I'll start with probably the biggest differentiator, and that is our recovery, and our ability to simultaneously mount multiple SQL databases. And again, I stress the database part, not server, not instance. It is protection at the actual database level. And again, that's all role-based access. So simplified is the word that stands out the most, I guess, in the fact that we simplify recovery and give you the ability to not have to carve out or provision additional storage, or not worry about the storage that is left where you need to recover to. So you can spin up this instance of the database in question, leave it running for as long as you want, give people access to it, or just simply copy data out or do test dev on it. When you're done, you click the ellipse and you choose unmount, and it goes away. And that has no impact on the snapshot that was there. So we're not doing linked clones or anything like that. It is every snapshot that we do is a fully recoverable instance of that database. So you don't have to wait for log files to replay or in the database to rebuild itself. The database and the log files are seamlessly meshed on us. And that recovery is very close to instant. Again, I don't like using the word instant because that's a little misleading. A minute and a half. If you have a 10 terabyte SQL database, then it may take a couple minutes. But worst case scenario is a few minutes, and you have a fully functioning instance of that database. So that's probably the biggest differentiator. Getting into the smaller sides of it, role-based access. A lot of our competitors do not offer database level role-based access controls. And so you can give a single person access to a single database, and they have full control of it. They control their schedules or their SLAs. They control how long it lives on the Rubrik. They control the archive target. And how long it's archived, and then they also have the ability to do the live mount feature that I was just talking about, all just on their database. So when they log into the Rubrik GUI, the only thing they see is what they have access to, and that is integrated with Active Directory. So if you have an Active Directory infrastructure, it's all done through AD as well, or it can be local accounts. And then probably the third reason I would say is scalability, and the fact that your ability to scale out, not up, never having to replace a Rubrik appliance because the model doesn't fit you anymore. You just simply add another appliance sized appropriately for your growth. You put it in line next to it, it joins the headless cluster, and your pie has just grown. And you don't have to Yep.
Let's give them a real life example. Can you see my screen? I uploaded your deck.
No, I cannot see your screen, but if you will tell me if you go to, let's go to, since we want to do a real live example.
Yeah, I just want to show our audience kind of before, if they're using Beam,
Yep.
if they're using where we were before, EMC, how an environment looked. I'm looking at Aaron's environment using Dell EMC before, and then let's show them just how it's simplified after.
Perfect. So if you can go to the key or the heading for the Aaron's, the one that says Aaron's reducing operational complexity, I want a little bit about the problem, because this problem is very common for everyone. And so time consuming recoveries, every SQL person understands that. No need to explain. Fragmented management. What I said earlier, you've got to have communication between the IT infrastructure people and SQL, the software side. So fragmented management. It's multiple people trying to come together and take care of a common problem. And then lack of app mobility. Typically, from a traditional backup perspective, you can only restore to a certain place. It doesn't give you the flexibility to restore to a local instance or to a cloud-based infrastructure such as Azure. So that is a typical problem for most customers. And so Aaron's is no different than anybody else. And so if you can go to the next slide, Alan, and again, I can't see where you're at, so I'm assuming that you're on the Aaron's before Rubrik. So it's a traditional infrastructure. You've got a Dell EMC infrastructure. They were using Avamar in conjunction with native SQL tools. So nothing fancy, no plugins, nothing like that. Just traditional backup to with Avamar and data domain. Very legacy EMC solution. Proxies everywhere, disk storage dedicated just for backup, and then Avamar is the backup software. And so they had that infrastructure, and then they had their SQL environment that consisted of a lot of manual scripts. And that was one of the reasons I brought that up earlier is the fact of how we eliminate those with our automation processes. And so they had scripts that were doing their backup, taking it and moving it off to a disk-based target, which was data domain. And then they had multiple management user interfaces for the visibility into all of this. So if you go to the next slide, it shows what we did. And so we took their entire SQL infrastructure, put it behind multiple SLA policies based on the demand or the need of these databases. We do our secret sauce of incremental forever backups to a single centralized backup target, backup solution so our edge appliance is a virtual appliance for small and remote offices. In conjunction with that and Microsoft Azure, it gave them a complete protection and DR and recovery solution, both on site. So sitting at the main site, they can spin up a live mount of SQL as well as Azure. And so what we do is we take and we actually replicate to Azure. So you have a copy of the database sitting in Azure. So you can now spin it up in a SQL server sitting in Azure, all seamlessly with one click of a button.
Nice.
So very simple, just very, very simple, very fast, and can be done by anyone that has access to that database.
Excellent.
So that was the problem that we solved.
Excellent. Well, we have about...
That's it.
Yep. And I wanted to go over real quick, just as far as next steps. Is there and I'm looking through, I know this is your deck. I know there's one that shows the TCO. No worries.
I don't think there is one in the SQL deck.
Okay. No, I appreciate everybody joining. As far as next steps, we'll definitely get you your tickets to the deep sea fishing trip. But more than that, we would like to come out, talk to you more about your environment. Our solution is very simple. We can come out and in just a few minutes, get to know your environment, kind of size things out. We can run a script right on site pretty quickly. build out a TCO, because if you look at Rubrik, right, it's similar to other technologies. You don't just look at the price, you look at the overall cost, because with deduplication and some of the things that go away, we replace and simplify a lot of different things with our solution, and customers are seeing 30 to 50% cost reduction on their overall backup environment. So we'll follow up with you. We appreciate everybody joining. We're going to respect your time. We'll sign off and look forward to going fishing with everybody. Have a great day.
Thanks, everyone.